Back with a bonus conversation with our political experts, J.C. Polanco and O'Brien Murray. So let's talk about the primaries here in New York and the fact that Jamaal Bowman actually lost. I think you guys called it.
We both did. We also said that he's not part of his district. Remember, the district got redistricted after his first time running, and he ran on issues. He's part of the squad. He was not part of his district. He couldn't connect to people, and then all of a sudden you had an opponent that had name ID, could raise the money, and it was the most expensive election primary in the country ever?
Yeah, you know,
wow.
Congressman Bowman, his team committed political malpractice.
Why?
I think that if you are on his team and you look at your district, you have to think twice about the comments that you make after the terrorist attack that we saw in Israel on October 7th. You have to think twice about calling Israel an apartheid state, saying that Israel is committing genocide, calling Israel colonizers. And then you also have to think a few more times about associating yourself with folks that are socialists, that when you look at their platform, want to wipe Israel off the face of the earth. I think it's a major problem when you do that. And then on the economic policies, when you look at not supporting the president's infrastructure plan, not supporting the extension of the federal budget, I mean, there are a lot of things that he did that were a problem for that district. He was representing somewhere else, not that
He
district.
wanted to be AOC. Simple as that. And he's not AOC in any way, shape, or form, and he cannot run and try to be bigger than his district like she is. There's no way he could do it.
I want to point out to you, George Latimer on election night gave a very gracious speech talking about inclusion. In fact, I'd like to have you listen to one of the things he said.
We have to look at the arguments of the far right and the far left and say, you cannot destroy this country with your rhetoric and your arguments.
He also went on to talk about being inclusive and bringing everybody in the district, not just the people in Westchester, but the people in the Bronx as well, into the House.
That's what the country needs. The country needs unification, and he led by that.
And you know what? Like the presidential race, the congressional race is similar in that you win by addition and bringing groups together. And if you take a look at the coalition of endorsements that County Executive Latimer had put together, you had the highest-ranking African Americans in Westchester supporting him, the majority leader of the Westchester County Legislature. You had the highest-ranking Latinos in Westchester, the mayor of Portchester, et cetera.
Former Governor Patterson.
Former first black governor of the state of New York supporting him. So you got to see that coalition that will come together to bring a candidate that was more moderate, centrist, over the top. You know what bothers me about this, and I have to be honest, is how this has been racialized afterwards. When the losing faction is making terrible allegations about racism against George Latimer, there has been no proof of that at all. There has been nothing racist about this man at all during this campaign. And saying what they're saying about AIPAC, which are Americans that care about Israel, who are supporting Israel, saying what they're saying that he only won because of AIPAC money when he was ahead in the polls before AIPAC even got involved, is full of anti-Semitic tropes that I really dislike.
He was attacking them before that night. If you listen to Congressman Bowman, soon to be former Congressman Bowman's speech, and even what Patterson said, Governor Patterson said when he endorsed Latimer, it was the first week he ran, and he was there with him on election night. All the people that didn't want to endorse him, they were pushing Patterson out of the way at that point. But Bowman, even on his speech that night, was fighting for outside the district, not even for his people, no remorse. You know, Floyd Patterson, you learn more from a loss than a win. He didn't even think about that quote. He is totally gonzo in that world.
But here's the question. Latimer doesn't change the scorecard in Washington. It's a Democrat for a Democrat. But if the Democrats have any hope of flipping the control of the House, as we've discussed, it comes through New York. So let's talk about another victory that was sort of under the radar because of the importance of the other race, and that was the one on Long Island where John Avlon, a CNN commentator, former CNN commentator, won the primary.
Former Rudy Giuliani speechwriter.
But he's running as a Democrat.
But he was pre-crazy Rudy, Obi.
I worked for Rudy in 93.
Yeah, but he was pre-crazy Rudy.
Question, though.
And he's a centrist, Marcia.
Does he have an opportunity and a chance
of
to beat Nick LaLota in Suffolk County?
The reason why is that he is a known moderate. He's a known centrist. He prides himself on that. If there is ever a Democrat that can bring Republican and centrists and independents over, is John Avlon.
He's got Jay Jacobs behind him. He's got the county party behind him. He's got unification from before this primary. Also, what he has is he has the top of the ticket that's going to get shaken up. Because right now, for him, Tom Suozzi and Desposito, it helps at this point, the next district down. But those two guys right now are hurt by Biden at the top of the ticket.
But
no
these
question,
suburban
that whole red in Suffolk County and Nassau.
So you think Suffolk County, so you're saying that despite Avlon's appeal that you've talked about, he can't beat Nick LaLota?
He's got to, no, Avalon can win. I don't question that. What I'm saying is Biden last night hurt him and hurt those chances because he's got to get ticket splitters now. He's got to get Republicans voting for President Trump that are going to come vote for him. And after his days on CNN and after his days at this point attacking the Republicans, getting the crossover vote is going to be that much tougher.
Not in a suburban district, and let me tell you why. The abortion issue is on the ballot, and women in Long Island know it, women in Suffolk know it, women in that district know it, and they know that there are other things on the ballot. Democracy is also on the ballot, and this district is going to be decided not by hardcore Republicans or Democrats, it's going to be decided by independents. And my point is, as an independent, I know that John Avalon is the kind of guy who can bring folks over to his side, and you will see split ticket voting. You're going to see it in Mike Lawler's district in Rockland.
The Hamptons, though, and you go a little further east, it gets so red. That's the challenge he's going to have, and what that turnout's going to be. And if the Democrats are going to show up in the further east points, at this point, that's going to be the challenge.
Well, but so far, John Avalon is talking tough. Let's hear what he had to say on election night.
I'm not going to let Nick LaLota play the same old game we've seen here on Long Island and Suffolk County of pretending to be moderate at home and then voting MAGA in Washington. I'm not going to let folks forget that he celebrated the overturning of Roe v. Wade.
You see what I mean?
So now he's firing his bazookas. Is it going to work?
He's terrific on TV. Much like President Trump having all those hours on Apprentice, his hours on a set just like this are phenomenal, and he can do so much with those airwaves at this point. I don't want to be a speechwriter, though. He's a great speechwriter on his own. I don't want him to mark up my stuff.
But can I tell you, I think he's going to do very well there. He reminds me a great deal of Mike Lawler in Rockland. Here's a guy running in a district where you would assume that President Biden is going to do well. How is a Republican going to be able to do that? He carves himself as a moderate centrist. He appeals to independent and centrist voters. And we're going to see Mike Lawler do very well in Rockland. We're going to see John Avalon do very well in
Remember, one of the things Lawler going for him was the fact that Maloney had chased out a progressive, and the progressives were not excited about Maloney's race.
Another thing that happened as well. He's running against Mondaire Jones, who, because he endorsed George Latimer, lost the support of the Working Families Party. And when he ran, he had to run in a primary for the Working Families Party and lost
against the former Republican that Lawler put up to it.
But so the
I don't know about
now he's only running on one line. How does that affect Lawler's chances of winning?
And it helps.
I think he's going to have a great chance of winning. I think candidate selection, whoever the DCCC was in charge of candidate selection in that district, you're going to have to explain how you have a guy who's on tape saying I support defunding the police, running against a guy like Mike Lawler in a law enforcement filled district. Get out of here.
From the Hudson Valley down to Brooklyn, back to Hudson Valley.
So wait. So we're talking about one freshman Republican that the Democrats would certainly like to take out, and you're saying he's going to win.
Yes.
So does the House leadership have any chance of flipping any other seats in New York where there are other freshman congressmen, freshman Republicans, Mark Molinaro, Brendan Williams, Anthony Esposito? Do they have any chance of taking any of those other seats, and do they have any chance of flipping the House?
Only if they replace President Biden. Period.
You're saying a Democrat can't win in Congress here in New York?
I didn't say that. He said that.
In the swing...
I'm not going down with that ship.
I own what I
You
said.
own it. I didn't say that. But
in the swing districts that are tight margins at this point, the top of the ticket makes all the difference in those races. Who turns out and who ticket splits.
You get to make your case now.
I'm going to tell you this. I think suburban women are very upset about Roe versus Wade. They know what's on the ballot. And I think you have a lot of independents, which, by the way, we are the second highest voters in the state of New York, and nonpartisan voters in New York. We're the second highest when you look at our numbers. We're going to be very important in this election, and we're going to be looking at candidates, and we're going to split our ticket. We are, and you're going to see a lot of folks support.
I am not the biggest Mike Lawler fan. It's public record. And I still think
that. And I just remembered that. You got to go to the archives of Twitter to see the kind of civil war that's going on.
I think he's still going to win, and that's me saying.
I just remembered that.
So are you buying his argument that Joe Biden is going to hurt the Democratic chances of taking control of the House?
I think in some places, but in the Senate, he's going to really hurt. I think it's going to be very difficult in Montana for John Tester to win.
But let's talk about, let's talk about the House. Can Hakeem Jeffries flip the House to Democrats, or is that gone because of what Biden
with President Biden?
I think it's
Biden going out on the road raising money and the vice president going out and raising money, great. and giving their speeches. Get 2 new people in there. You get 4 people traveling the country. That will change the world.
I think Hakeem Jeffries, Minority Leader Jeffries, could be Speaker. I think the road goes through New York.
So
I think the Syracuse seat is going to be very interesting, Marcia. I think the
Okay, so let's say that he could probably take the Syracuse district because they redistricted and gave them more Democrats.
And I think he could take the first.
That, he needs.
What about John Avalon?
He needs 4 seats.
But I just gave you 50% of them right in one state. There's another 49. Let's go study some of them.
Ryan will be fine. Marcus will be fine at this point. So it's a Democrat keeping their seat, Republican keeping their seat. I just don't see it. Elise will be fine. If Elise runs for vice president, and she is the candidate for vice president, that would change it because that seat is red, but it's an open seat. So who knows what happens there?
I think there are other seats.
Let's talk about another seat. There's Pat Ryan, a Democrat, has a strong challenge from Allison Esposito. Could it be possible that that Democratic seat goes red and Allison Esposito profits from it and wins?
Ryan's got that right now. He's the first West Point graduate to represent West Point. He is at that district all over the place. He won that in a special election. He won in the general. All of that stuff goes. He's got that.
Anthony D'Esposito, freshman Republican. Mark Molinaro, freshman Republican. What are their chances today after everything else that's happened?
Marcus has a better chance than Anthony right now, D'Esposito, because of Biden. If they replace the top, D'Esposito could be in trouble.
I think that Mark Molinaro is a very popular congressman, considering that he was a county executive in Dutchess County, and he has a lot of crossover appeal. It's all about crossover appeal. But your question about Speaker Jeffries, I think it's going to happen, and I think you get 2 in New York, and you get the other 2 or 3 in another state somewhere, possibly Virginia. But I think there's opportunities even with Biden at the top of the ticket. I'm not so confident about the Senate staying.
You cigars or pizza?
I'm low carb. I'll take a slice.
So we can have a bet here?
Sure.
Okay, good.
He owes me a slice of pizza anyway. We got to get cigars sometime.
We'll come back and we'll see who's right and who's wrong in November. You'll be back.
Thank you.
Then right now we got to say goodbye. Thank you for joining me, and thank you for joining me at home as well.